where's the time gone? And as we sit here now embarking on your 10th season, how would you characterize everything from day one to now?
Yeah, it's been a crazy journey. You know, I can't even fathom that we're already sitting at year 10 being at Iowa State, but it's been incredible, you know, to be able to build a program that in my mind stands for something and to be able to do it with such great people, you know, such a great coaching staff and the continuity that we've had there, the amazing players that have come through our program that have kind of drawn a line in the stand to demand that Iowa State football, you know, get to where it is right now.
Sure.
And you're just really grateful to be around such great people and really appreciative to build something that stands for something.
You know, and I like to use the term build, because that's exactly what it's been. You had a couple of years where you were up, you had a couple of years you were down, and now you've got it back to a level where you're going to compete for a conference championship year in and year out. For you, at this stage of where college football is, what is the biggest challenge to build and maintain with what you have there? Yeah,
you know, I think probably for us, we've tried to double down on our culture, you know, and I know it can be challenging right now in college athletics to build culture, but I still think when, man, you have continuity, when you haven't flinched from what you've stood for, that there's young people and families that are looking for what Iowa State football is about. And to be able to build with our kind of guys and to be able to have the people that serve our young men in our program and to have the credit of, you know, building some terrific football players, not just that are playing in the NFL, but young men that are being great fathers, great husbands, man, running their own businesses and organizations. Yeah. You're really proud of that. And so, you know, yes, the environment is changing around us, but I don't think the value system that's built our football program has changed at all within our walls.
It's kind of amazing. The Iowa State that we grew up with, you had Seneca Wallace and some incredible years, but it was kind of like, all right, they'd rally up and then they'd come back to earth. Then they'd rally up, come back to earth. And now with the constant expectations that Matt just referenced, you almost feel forced to go to the portal every once in a while when you have some obvious needs. But yet culture still remains at the forefront. How do you define what guys you want to go after, knowing that you need those players, but you don't want to sacrifice what the program has kind of stood for the last decade?
Yeah, you know, it's a great question, and I think the biggest thing is we've always identified in our program who fits, and probably the value of being at one place for 10 years and an offensive system that's, man, we've tweaked it at times, but really has had the same values, and the defensive system that's had the same values. We really know what fits in our football program, what can grow, and no matter how we add a young man into our football program, the value of character, man, how does this guy fit in our walls? Will this guy work through hard, knowing that no matter what, we're going to have to go up the rough side of the mountain at Iowa State to be successful? You know, two, you got to love football. You know, there's not a whole lot to do in Ames, Iowa. Like, I'm not going to, you know, shy away from it. The reality of it is guys that love football love our place because you can train to become your best. And I think the facilities, what we put around our student-athlete experience has made it really special to become your best. And so I think guys that love football, the guys that are really passionate about the sport have fit our place. And still understanding the value of academics, guys that understand, like, yeah, I know we're in a different time, but guys that have thrived. I mean, Charlie Kolar was a 3.99 in mechanical engineering. Brock Purdy's a 3.6 in our business school. David Montgomery just came back to graduate and get his business degree from Iowa State. Our best players have stood for what's right in the classroom. And so, to me, we've been able to put the tools and resources around the right kids that fit who we are, that it's kind of almost made it easier to identify what fits in our program and not shy away from those value systems when we're trying to bring in the right guys, no matter how we're bringing those guys in our program.
Coach, kickoff is right around the corner, and especially for you guys playing in the opening game of the college football season. Commissioner Yormark just mentioned he wants the Big 12 to be a global conference. You guys are kicking off against Kansas State in Dublin, Ireland. Talk about some of the excitement that comes along with playing in that game, but also some of the challenges.
Yeah, you know, I think starting with the excitement aspect of it, I think there's just a great sense of honor that, our program's at this point where we get to play in a game like this. You get to kick off college football, and you get the opportunity to do it in an iconic stadium. Obviously, there's been some great games the last couple of years in this kickoff game, and then you talk about playing one of the biggest rivals that you have, and a great Kansas State program. Yeah, we've got the utmost respect for them and obviously what they've stood for, but you get to that opportunity and that challenge. And so as I've told our kids, what comes with great challenge is sometimes great opportunity. And when you get the opportunity to play this game, you know, we really look forward to it. I think the uniqueness of it is I don't know if anybody's proven that they can handle this game, right? I think if you look at the teams that have played early in the season in this game, what they've done after the game, win or lose, there's been a great challenge. And so we've really tried to put the time and effort to make sure not only for that game, but post that game, man, we're ready to be the best we can be. Now, I just watched the Philadelphia Eagles go and play a 12-hour flight last year and come back and win a Super Bowl. So, it's been done, but we're going to have to do it the hard way, and we're going to have to do it with great mental toughness and great physical toughness every step of the way.
It's a good point too, because the preseason, as you know, and you guys know, builds up to that opening game. It's what you do afterwards. And you have a unique situation flying overseas, playing a different time zone, but it's going to be fun to watch, by the way, that one on ESPN opening weekend. Cannot wait for that. But when you look at your team now, Rocco Beck's going to be one of those players that seems like he's been in college football for a decade because he started since day one. Now that he's a veteran, what has he brought to your team and your program?
Well, I think what I love about Rocco so much, and the quarterback is so critical to this, is he's got to stand for what's right. And when you watch Rocco, every single player and every single coach in our football program believe in him. And I think that belief really comes from how he carries himself every single day in our facility, his work ethic, how he handles himself. We have this saying, are you trying to be somebody or are you trying to do something in your life? And what I love about Rocco from the day he's entered our campus is he's always been on a mission to try to do something. And, how he handles his faith, how he handles his family. He's a really special human, and he's the same guy every day, and it's never been about Rocco. It's always been about the team. And to have a leader like that, that's the centerpiece of your locker room, boy, we're really grateful to lead with a young man like that.
Well, it's fun to watch him. There's very few guys in college football that when the ball is snapped, every single time he's got a plan. I mean, the ball's out. He knows where to go with it. He knows based on what the defense is doing. But when watching the tape to prepare for his segment a little later in the show, I couldn't help but pay a lot of attention to the wide receivers. You had some guys last year naturally, right? You lose two incredible pieces from last year. You brought in a couple in the portal. You got some young guys I know you feel great about. But can't play quarterback by yourself, but with what Rocco has to work with, what is the passing attack going to look like this year?
Well, I do think one of the areas that cushions losing those two great receivers is we feel like we have one of the best tight end rooms in all of the country. You got Ben Bramer and Gabe Burkle, who are two of the best in college football, and to build around that group, our tailbacks are back, Abu Sama and Carson Hansen. Both those guys are elite catchers out of the backfield as well as runners. You got 5 starting offensive linemen back. So you've got great pieces to build around, and obviously we think really highly of our wide receiver room. Now that room's going to have to prove it early in the football season in the moments, and but I think to have some of those building blocks around Rocco, and you're 100% right, it can't all fall on his shoulders, but I think what I've loved about him is the time and effort he's put into all those young receivers from January to where we are right now. I think it shows his leadership, and he shows his ability to bring others with him, and I think you guys know this as great quarterbacks. The reality is greatness is your ability to bring others with you, and that's his special trait that he's always had, and he's showing it right now in our football program.
Coach, so much conversation about Rocco and the rest of the offense going into the season, and rightfully so, but John Haycock and his defense, what he's been doing there year in and year out since really day one 10 years ago. Talk about that defense a little bit. Obviously you guys lose some key pieces, but you also bring back some of the core unit. What should we expect out of your unit this year?
I think number one, our defense was almost pillaged last year with injuries, starting from game one through, really through the entirety of the season. And I don't know if I've ever been through as many injuries and challenges to one side of the football. And I think Coach Haycock's leadership and some of the leadership of the young men coming back off of injury, it was impressive. And to watch those guys lead and guide their football team last year was really impressive. And so I think what we're excited about is we gained some of those guys back. Some of those guys that had to play because of injury grew and stepped in and really played great football. And now the competition really at all three levels, the D-line, the linebackers, and our safeties and our corners, it's as good as we've had it since we've been there. And I think a lot of it is because some of those young guys had to step up and play critical minutes for us last year in critical moments and really did a great job. And so it's created great competition this offseason, this spring, and it will carry into fall camp for us.
And I mean this with all due respect. You've built a blue-collar program, and some of those guys you just mentioned fit perfectly what you've built the names of the last 10 seasons. It's been fun to watch. Promise me you'll allow some proper time for a few pints in Ireland. Don't just go over there and play ball. Go get you a real pour when you're over there.
Yeah, I mean, that may be after the game. That may be after the game.
Matt Campbell, head coach, Iowa State. Coach, thank you so much for spending some time with us. Good luck this season. Continued help with everyone.